Once again, good morning, good afternoon. It will depend on the time that you are joining the course. Today we are going to focus on data frame and arrays as the remaining data structure we have seen on basics and data structure session. So I think you now understand that we have seen the vector as one dimensional with the same data type, and you have seen that we have seen the matrices as the two dimensions with the same data type. And now we are going to look for the data frame and arrays, where the data frame and arrays in common, they have to be in a different data type. There is not mandatory to be in the same data type as usual as it was for the vector and the matrices. So now we are going to see another data structure where the data type is not mandatory to be the same, different data type, and also other kind of things that is going to be differentiating with those we have seen. So before we jump, the data frame, if I'm talking about the data frame, it is going to be much real life application. It is what we call the data set in real life. So both of them, between the data frame and the matrices, of course, is going to be made by column and rows, but the data frame is the data set we normally know, where you can go to the field and then you correct the set of informations, like asking people a lot of questions. Those questions you will asking them, that is what we call variable, and we have seen that we have a numerical and a categorical variables. Those questions they are asking, either it is going to record the observations, which is numerical or categorical. That's what we call the columns in a sense of data frame. Those questions and those responses the respondents are going to give you, that's what we call the rows. So I want you to understand this. And then the list, you can also use the list, like the list of the student, the list of age, something like that. We can use the list to create better data frame, or we can use the list to create better matrices, where we have seen the applications of a list in naming the matrices at the same time without using column names and the row names, and we have seen how we can use it. So we are going to look much into on those kind of things, and I hope that you are going to enjoy the session. I want you to follow doing practice. It is a key to master the code. So without taking much time, the data frame is like a matrix, but can having the column with the different data type, as I told you. Either we can have it as a numeric, character, logic at the same time, no matter what, but make sure that you understand the difference. So the way of also creating the data frame is a simple. We can train, of course, we can take the matrices and then we transform it to the data frame, as the way we did, where we can take the numerical value and then we calculate it, or we convert it into the character. So you can use as data frame if you need to check if the matrices you have as data frame, so, or the functions that you're having, if it is the data frame. So the way we calculate also the data frame, we use the function called the data.frame, and then you put the observations that you need to do. So without much taking time, so of course you can, based on the matrices that we have, and then from that matrices we can generate the data frame. So let's here, like the matrices is C bind, where it is income, region, and gender. You see that region and income are the different data type, but from there you can make it the data frame for us to make it easier. So subsetting the data frame, we normally use the brass or the square bracket. So if you want to select the column by name, the dollar sign is going to be easier for you, to help you. So we will see much on it where we already create the data frame, and the data frame, it is made by income, the region, and gender. And then you need to select only, you see, you need to select only one columns from here, maybe region. So what you do, type the name of the data frame, and then you add the sign dollar. The sign dollar, if you add the sign dollar, the other programming is going to give you the list of the variables that you have, the list of the columns that your data frame has, and then you choose. For here, we was like interesting, select the region only, so we are going to get this value. So we are trying to see if we are dealing with selecting the columns, but we will see the way of using a brass. We normally use the square bracket when we are trying to select the variable. Of course, you can put the number inside here, or when we are indexing, when we are looking for the column, for the row numbers, the observations, we used to use also the square bracket as much as possible. So using subsetting functions, the subsetting functions also, it can work, where you can also subset the function to take the subset of the data frame within with the condition. Let's subsetting the data frame, we can also look for our data frame or based on the condition. So I'm interested to see the income which is above 200, so I will use subset, and then I put the name of data frame, comma, income, something like that. So I want you to follow those kind of, this is what we are going to do in real world data set. Real data set, this is how we analyze the real data set. So because the data frame also, it is a data set. By default, once we import the data in other programming, it is going to be also what we call the data frame. So the way we subset it, let's say for example your boss asks you to provide the list of the people who are earning above 500 USD, for example. So you will use subsetting, and then you put the name of the data frame. The data frame name, it is also the object you created, so that you can assign the set of the data, the set of the observations or something like that. So then we type the subsetting, and then we put the name of the data frame, and then we put the variable that we are looking, comma, we put the variable that we are looking for, they put the greater than something, that is operations. So what is going to give you error is going to print all of the observation, but making sure that the price, the income is above 200 as you indicate. So that is a simple way. So reordering the columns of the data frame by name. So let's say for example you have a lot of data set, and then you need maybe let's say for example the way the variables, the way the columns are arranged, it is not the way you want. So how can we reorder? So this is help us to change the order, which column of your data frame are arranged, what you really want to see faster than others. So before we do the reorder was the income, region, and gender. Then you say I want my data frame to be started by region, gender, and income. So what you do, you type the name of the data frame, and then you put the square bracket, and then you put the concatenate function, data C as a concatenate function, close the open bracket, like you put the region, gender, and income, but you have to make sure that you put into the quotations. So then your data frame is going to be ordered correctly. So this is also the ordering again by using names. You cannot using names, but also there is a possibility of using positions like the numbers. So I want to start with the my data frame to be started with the column number 3 followed by column number 2 followed by column number 1. Those are also kind of things we need to put into consideration. Like gender, it is an opposition 1, 2, 3. Those are also kind of things. You can use the name, but also you can use the numbers. It depends on the time that it depends on the way you want. So another thing, it's like adding a new columns or rows on the data frame. How can we add the data? So suppose that we want to add the column on the data frame, whatever person has job or not. So how can we do this kind of thing? So we have, of course, to create that variable that we need to do. So have job, like yes, no kind of things. That's what we are trying to do. And I can use cbind. So if I use the cbind, it means that I'm using the column ways. So it is going to be the column that is called has job. So I need to type the name of my data frame, and then I use equal or assignment operator. I say cbind, I put the cross or parentheses, the name of my data frame again, and then comma, I put the variable that I need to add. If I have more, I will put another comma and then add it again. So those are also, you do the same when you are adding the rows. When we are adding the rows, we are doing also the same, but we are not going to do the cbind. We are going to do the column bind. So I think that's what we normally do. We are not going to use the column bind when we are adding the rows. We will use row bind, sorry. So we will use the row bind. So that's what we normally do. And as we have seen the data frame, now it is a time to look for the list. What is the list? So the difference between list and the data frame, so we are going to see it. So a list is ordered collections of objects, so which can be vector, it can be matrices, it can be the data frame, it can be ethics. In other words, list can contain all kind of other objects that we have seen. So as we have seen, the vector, it is one-dimensional with the same data type. As we have seen, the matrix, it is two-dimensional with the same data type. And we have seen the data frame, it is many dimensional. We cannot say that in two-dimensional. It's like multi-dimensional with the different data type. The list can also be all of those kind of objectives that we have seen. Interesting. It's like a combination. It's like a family. It's like creating the families of those kind of things. So here we have a sample list. Like for example, I can have a list of students, a list of ages. And let's say in all of you have attended the class. So we used to have the class attendance. See the way the class attendance are doing their kind of things. That is the list. Among the class attendance, there is a list there. So the combinations of those kind of things, that's what we call the lists also. So and then if we are doing those kind of things like creating a list, this is an example. We use a function called list when we are trying to create the list. So I'm creating the list of the mothers, fathers, sisters, and the sisters' age. You see, those are the lists that I'm trying to do. So when I'm getting the names of the element of the list, I will use the names function, and then I put the names of object. So and automatically I'm going to get the names of the objectives that are inside the list, which means inside the list we can have a lot of kind of the objectives we normally deals with. So and then from that we will also we can see the names of a list where if you want to see the names of a list, as I told you, you can use the names function called my names, and then you put the name of the list. Inside the list there is a lot of names that we have already created, so it's going to bring you all the names of the list that you have already created. So The list is more applicable when we are defining like the pipelines, so we will see on the advanced side, especially when we are dealing with creating a dashboard in other programming. So we will see some applications of the list. That's where maybe we will meet with the deep applications of the list for us to understand it better. But to understand that the list can combine all those kind of data frames at the same time, all kind of the data structure at the same time. It is important for us to note it, because when we are going to make the dashboard, we are going to combine all those data structures, either data frame, either vector, or something. When you are creating a cards, KPIs, those kind of things we are going to see. So subsetting the list, it is the same as it is, but the only difference is between those vector matrices, data frame. When we are subsetting the list, we are using double brass, the double square stuff. So we are using the double brass for us to understand it's better. So that is the only difference between those, but otherwise it is the same. So another, also we can add the element in a list. Where to add the element in a list, you say the example, like you can use concatenating a list. We can use the letter C when we are trying to add the list, the number of a list is in the number of new columns, or adding the values in a list. We can use concatenate letters, where we type the list underscore. This is the list that we are going to do. I have a list of age, a list of grander, a list of others, list of gender, sorry, not grander. And then here also, this is another list. What we are doing when we are adding the list, we can use concatenate. See, here there is a lot of list A, list B, and list C. So if we are interested to add those lists, so I will use concatenate, and then list A, list B, and list C. Those are the things that we will use once we are generating also, or once we are adding the lists among the list. So as a conclusion, in other programming, the data frame is table-like structure using to store data in terms of row and column, where each column may have the different data type, and a list also can combine all those kind of things. So without taking much time, let's jump to the practical side to see how it can also work. So as I told you, this is also the data frame, where it is like the way we can generate the data frame is simple. The data frame, let's say for example, we are using data.frame as a function that is going to create the data frame. And as I told you, it can have the more than one data type. So what you have to do, you have to type the names or the object that is going to represent your data frame as a student to my side, and then I say you put equal data.frame, and then you start by one variable where names, name of the student equal letter C concatenate Alice, Bobo, Charlie, David, something like that. And then I put the comma, and then I code also another variable called the age. So the age is going to be represented here. After adding the age, what I have to do, I have to put the comma, and also proceeding to the gender, and then again I have to also to proceed to the grade. And even you can add the grade. Also I have made the grade as a factor, so I think you understand what is factor. So the factor, it's a way that we are making our categorical variable, so that can be easier for us to transform it into numeric, since we will need it. And we have seen that the factor, it's where we transform the categorical variables when we are really want to use it in statistical modeling. I think we have seen the factor. So, and then from here you have to close the bracket that you have already opened for the functions of data.from. Other things are the way we generate the vector. It's like we are taking the vector code name and the vector code age and the vector code gender and the vector code grade and the vector code order, and then we combine it together. So once I run this, and then if I print the student, so the data is going to be in terms of row and column. You see, I have a name, I have an age, I have a gender, and I have a grade. Those are the things also we need to put into consideration. So those are the things we need to put into considerations, and most of the time the data frame, that's what we are going to play with. And you can check the structure of the data frame. Of course, to check the structure of the data frame, we are trying to see how the data are also answered, either the numeric, the character, the integers. Those are the kind of things we need to see when we are normally deals with the data frame. So here again, if I see, you see that I have the data frame having 4 observation of 4 variables. The names are a character, the age are the numbers, the gender are a factor, the grade are the other factor. Those are how we can see the structure of the data set. So we will see when it comes to the applications of artificial intelligence to the other programming, to look for the structure of the data frame or the data set. It is important for us when we are trying to use the artificial intelligence, maybe we use it so that it can simplify our work in easiest way. So we will see some tricks we used to use when we really want to make these kind of things better when it comes to those kind of things. So another thing, if we need to check for the summary statistics, so we use summary, and then if I run this and then I get the summary, so I'm going to get, if it is a numeric, I'm going to get mean, first quantile, median, mean, search quantile, maximum. But if it is a categorical, of course, I'm not going to get mean, mode, something like that. I'm going to get the frequency, like a gender, female are 1 and male are 3, like a grade, letter C is 1, B, something like that. That's what we are going to see. And then assessing the element, here we are assessing the columns. We are assessing the columns. Here we have the student, also the assessing the columns. The student are assessed by using the names. You see those kind of things. So as I told you, when we are assessing the columns in a data frame, we don't use the square bracket or the way it is. You can use also like the sign dollar. If I type the student, let's give you an example. If I type the student, as I told you, this one, if I add the sign dollar, all variables are going to come, and then I have to choose what I want to look for. So that is the simplest way to see what is going to be coming. Again to the name, again to the age, still the same. But also we can assess the rows. Assessing the rows, when we are assessing the rows, we are going to use the same way we are using on the column or on the matrices. So the same way we used when we are dealing with matrices, that's what we are going to use here. So from here, for assessing rows, of course, we are going to use the square bracket, where if I say the square and then I put 1, I want to assess the row number 1. So this is the comment I put for you so that you can understand it better. And then again, we are assessing the specific element. So I'm accessing the element. I'm assessing the edge that is in row number 2. So that is in a position number in row number 1, but also for edge first row and edge column. So first row on edge column. So you see, I'm going to get one number. So because I specified the number of rows and a column at the same time, you see, I'm specifying the number of rows that I'm looking for and the number of columns that I'm looking for. That is the best way we have seen. We can also do the assessing those kind of things. So, and here also we can assess the number of also the number of rows and the column number 3. The second row set columns, that is looking for the intersection element. So we have males and females there. So I think you understand these kind of things better. This is also the male. So this is where males and assessing the multiple columns. So I'm assessing the multiple columns. You see, I'm assessing the names and the grade at the same time. That's what we can do. We can also add the columns in data frame either by using cbind or rbind. What you have to do is just to make sure that the values are equal. If values are not equal, you are going to get the null values that is going to be added to each something. So you see, because it is equal, you can also say that the student, and then you add the that is interesting, you add the exclamation, and then you put the names that we are going to create as a new, and you equalize with the values that you are going to append to that value. So that is also another thing we can do. And then from here you can add you can calculate. You see, you can add the edge next here, where you will say that for each edge go and add +1. So those are the things we will do in a practical way. So when we are adding or we are calculating, let's say for example, we say that go on the data frame called the student, add the variable called age next here. It is going to be equal with the student plus age. That we are generating a new variable based on existing, where we are going to take the age. When I'm focusing on this, I say that go on the student and then select the age +1. For each age that I have there, I'm going to create a new variable called age next year, where I'm going to take that age and again are going to add one by one for each edge I have there. So if I run this, you see what happened. I was having 21, but I add 1, I get 22 until to the end. So as I told you, if you see that this is no longer visible, what you have to do, you come on this kind of sign here. There is a seesaw. You have to click on it so that you can read it. So those are also the height, the student, those kind of things. Adding the rows. So adding the rows, you can also using the data.frame. Those are the things we use to see. You can also use rbind in a simple way. You can create the new student and then you use the row bind. That is the simplest way I can recommend. If you use the rbind, you put the name of the data frame and then put comma, then you put new student. Those are also the characteristics we need to focus on. So here also we are subsetting the data frame by using subset function, as we have seen. So by using the subset function, as we have seen, you can use subset, and then we state the name of the data frame as a student. Age is greater than 21. So I'm going to get the matrices that having the age which is greater than 21. That is the result only we have here. So, and again, you can also look for the grade which is equal exactly to A. So if we are using double equal, we are looking for exact values that is there. So you can also do the same because this is not visible. So I have to increase the size so that the output can be visible. And then from here also I can read this. So if I see this, you see I have only one observation that exactly match with the grade A. So again here males and something, I'm looking for the gender which is equal to male and age is 20 above. You see, are a male and age is 20 above. Those are the multiple conditions you can apply on the data frame. And if you see what we are doing here, this is really what is really needed to the job market or to the applications of other programming, because at the end of the day, so your boss, they will give you the task and then you will need to look for the specific categories of person, specific categories of scenarios, so you will play with it, especially for the data frame by using subsetting. We will see lot of techniques we will use when it comes to the data manipulation, but here we are playing with the data frame so that we can understand it better. So again, we are sorting the data frame either order by ascending or descending, or organizing the variable the way we want, you see. And another thing, useful function, you can calculate the number of rows of the data frame, the number of columns of the data frame, the dimension, row times column. So again, the dimension is not visible because the space had already ended. So the dimensions is going to give you the number of observations and the row and columns, the names also to see the names or the columns we have, and head to see 5 few observations, first 6 observations. So we will see it because the reason why we get 5 is because our data set is consists of 5 only. But if we have the big data set where it has a lot of data, we will see only few 6, and also 10 it's the last 6. And also we will see merging the data frame. So merging the data frame, we are trying to merge, maybe we will see merging stuff when it comes to the data manipulation. So as I told you, what we call the data frame, it is also the original name of the data set. What we call the data set, it is also what we call the data frame. So this is additional. It is not mandatory to know it, but it's better to know how we can merge the data frame. The only way we merge the data frame, it is just to look for the interactions. I'm going to merge the data frame to data frame, but I have to look for the combinations. I have to look for the variable in column, or the column, the variable in common, not in column, or the column that is in common. Let's say if I have the score data frame and I have the another score called another data frame called the student, so I will need to see among the student and the score which variable can have the same value so that I can merge it. So that's what I can say. And otherwise, you have to do the practical thing. This is the practical exercise I have created for you. So I want you to repeat what we have done, and don't copy the paste the code, because I already provide the answers on our programming here. So I want you to understand it instead of copying the code and paste it there, because it is not a good thing to copy the code. The only thing which is important for you is just the more you type, more you get it, but also better to understand it. Feel free to contact us and try to participate in a forum. Once you face a problem, we are always there to support you where you have a problem, so that it can be easier for us to respond quickly. So thank you so much once again for taking a time to join this course, and I hope we are going to move to the other session where we are going to focus on functions and a loop before we start introduction to how we can import the dataset in other programming. Thank you so much. So as we are concluding the site of introduction to other programming, as a beginner level, I would like to recommend you to look for the previous video to watch it again, so that you can do the practice as better for your preparations of final capstone project that is going to cover what we have seen here. But we are going to add one more session on loops and functions, and don't worry, we will do the recap of what we have covered. So thank you once again for joining this course.